Good morning, good people. How are you all today? I hope I hope you're well. It's really good to be with you all. So here we are. Uh, it's Wednesday. We're in January. It's all good. Um, Talked on Monday, didn't we, about the fact that I'm not a fan of the fact that we have to go. Oh, it's a new year, new me. No, the me. I read a thing yesterday that said no, the me that you already are is fine, is just good enough. Let's not have a new you, but maybe let's have some new habits. Let's have some new things that we do. So I've got some peanut butter on toast. Um, I don't know why I'm telling you that. Just have and I've got my espresso. Because yesterday I took delivery of something that I've waited for a long time. I've saved my beans up, my pennies, and bought myself a bean a cup coffee maker. Very good. Tastes different. Same coffee, same beans that I get ground. Tastes different. Well, it's denser, I suppose, isn't it? But there you go. But enough of coffee. It's all very good. So I've got my peanut butter on toast that I'm not going to munch on while I'm talking to you. Well, I'll have that after, and I've got my coffee. So all is good, and all is well in the world. And here we are, second self-care shorts live of 2023. And I've upped my game. I've actually done some prep. Unbelievable. It's some prep for Monday, and I've done some prep for this one rather than just sitting down in front of you and thinking what to say. Although, I think that has a certain charm about it. So I'm reading Bruce Daisley's book at the minute. I'm even going to show you it. I don't know whether I've got this the right way around, whether that kind of looks like it's the right way, whether it's backwards or whatever. It's kind of some of these. That looks as though it's all right. I can see what I'm doing. Fortitude by Bruce Daisley. I was over the moon. Posted a picture of it on Instagram. You find me on Instagram at SJMoju. Post all sorts of memes and stuff in my timeline thing, or in my story. So have a look at that. Instagram at SJMoju. And Bruce, I tagged Bruce Daisley in it to say that in the book, Bruce was overturning some of the things that I hold dear about the stuff I talk about. And he also was posting stuff. So he was also posting stuff about, he also was writing stuff about some of the people whose work I've read who I absolutely love. And but he was right. What he was saying is absolutely right. It was a watershed moment. And actually, then he got to the stuff that he felt was more appropriate, because what he's saying in the book, you must read it if you're into this kind of thing. What he's saying in the book is he prefers the word fortitude, because resilience has all sorts of connotations and what have you. And I agree with that. I've stopped trying to use, whenever I start one of my longer presentations in front of a group of people, I always start by apologizing if I slip into using the word resilience, because it's such a loaded word now, isn't it? Especially in the workplace, such a loaded word that it's probably unhelpful. He prefers the word fortitude. And I'm 2/3 of the way through the book, so I'm enjoying that. So give that a read. It's out in hardback now, and I don't often buy books in hardback because they're too expensive. I wait for the paperback. But on a recommendation, I bought his Joy of Work book in hardback, and it was brilliant. So when this came out, I was like, right, I'm having that. Anyway, I scribbled in the back of the book. This is what I do. Sorry, Bruce, if you're actually watching this, which you probably won't be. I actually scribble in the back of books, which horrifies some people. I don't suppose librarians would be very happy with this, because when an idea strikes, you need to get it down, don't you? So the nearest thing I had, and I was reading his book, and he was talking about self-determination theory, really. I don't think he badged it as that. I can't remember. But he's talking about self-determination theory. And I talk about that as well in my sessions as being the thing. And as I was reading that, I'll come to that bit in a minute. As I was reading that, I was thinking, yeah, we attempt to manage our stress, because there's another word I don't like, and I'll come to that in a bit. We try to manage our stress once we're stressed, or once we feel that stress starting to mount. And the stress, I'd argue, particularly at work, but in life in general as well, don't like work-life balance idea. Remember all that, particularly in everything we try and do, particularly at work, maybe where time is more boundaried, isn't it? You want to try and get stuff done in your 8 hours or whatever, which is a big ask these days. So time is boundaried. So we manage our time. We start looking at our day by thinking, what have I got to do? And how much time do I have to do it? That is immediately stress inducing. Because you immediately, in the modern workplace, let's remember, we're never going to get caught up. I've been recording the How to Thrive in Professional Practice book as an audio book, and there's some nuggets in there. I'll tell you what, some stuff I'd forgotten about that I'd read, and that was, and that was one of them. That statement there. So we attempt to manage our stress once we're feeling stressed, or once we feel that stress starting to rise, and we do that through trying to manage our time. And time just marches on. All that time you're feeling stressed about trying to manage time, you were losing time all the time. And one of the things that I often say in the sessions that I run is manage your energy first before you manage your time. Because if you haven't got the energy to do the tasks that you've allocated to a time slot, then you're never going to get it done. And you're going to feel stressed again, because you're thinking, I cannot generate the motivation, the energy, the forward motivation, the forward direction. I can't generate that because I'm just feeling tired because I've got no energy to do it. And our energy fades as the day goes on and as the week goes on and all those kind of things. So we try and manage our time, when what we should be trying to do first, manage our energy. But this was the revelation of reading Bruce Daisley's book. The revelation was, and I don't know whether he said this, it was just something in what he was saying made this come to mind, is that the first thing we need to do is manage our stress response, not our stress. Can't manage that till we're feeling it, even if it's a thing we can manage, because in some ways it's not a real thing. I'll come to that. Just a big word, just a word to amalgamate, to bring together a whole lot of feelings, I think. Stress is not a feeling. It's a collection of other feelings that we go, that's stress. And it's very different for all of us, which makes it an unhelpful term because it's different to all of us. Yeah, it's not the same thing. I'll come to that. Make sure I come to that. So we have to manage our stress response before we even think about managing our energy, before we even think about managing our time. So it's manage stress response, manage energy, then manage time. Okay. So how do we manage our stress response? Well, one of the ways, and you'll have seen all this stuff, I've talked before about my Shakti mat. I must have talked before about meditation and mindfulness as a way of stepping back, as a way of kind of pressing pause on your whole kind of monkey brain, your monkey mind that's chattering away at you all the time. Pressing pause on those things, but also disconnecting mind from body. And that's the Wim Hof method. You'll have seen Wim Hof doing that kind of thing, where he submerges himself in icy cold water and embraces the physical challenge by mentally switching off to the physical challenge and disconnecting mind from body so that his mind can stay in control. He knows he's safe. There's a caveat to that, actually. I've been reading about some stuff lately. There's a caveat to that. He knows he's safe because he's just standing in water, and there's probably a film crew around him because he seems to be filmed every time he does it. Anyway, he knows he's safe. So he knows that he's not about to be attacked by some beastie to initiate his fight or flight response. So he uses this method, and there are other methods. He uses this method to control his stress response. Now remember, and I told you this before, our stress response is a one-trick pony. We're flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, and other things happen, but it's a one-trick pony. Whatever the thing is that's initiating this response that is rooted in fear, whatever it is that's causing us that, the icy cold water, the spikes of the Shakti mat in your back, the report that needs to be written, the kids not being able to find their shoes, all of those things that are fearful to us, that create fear. Um, and I suppose the fear there is, I'm not going to get to work on time now because you can't find your shoes. Where are they at? Why have you got the left one on the right foot and the right one on the left foot? What's all that about? We've all been there as parents, haven't we? So there are ways to manage this, and that's one method. Now, it's interesting. I've been reading about the problem with open water swimming in the cold water. I need to read more about it, but that it can initiate a response in our bodies that's problematic, and it can. Not want to scaremonger here because it was only one report I was reading. It can generate some response that means that your lungs start to take in water. So we need to read a bit more about that, don't we, before we do it? I haven't open water swam. I would like to have a go. I don't live near the coast. It's difficult, it's not difficult. I just have to drive there, but it's not something I want to fit into my life at the minute. But I do take cold showers. Not in for very long. I'm not in for the length of time you would be if you were swimming, I suppose. But anyway, so that's one way. Meditation and mindfulness is another way, because you were trying to stop your thoughts taking over, stop those fearful thoughts taking over. Exercise is a good way as well. This is one of the things that is taught about. Exercise is a good way because exercise obviously elevates your heart rate, elevates your blood pressure, elevates your breathing, which are signs of stress. Those things happen when you're stressed as well. So if you can exercise regularly and convince your body that when these things are happening, there's actually nothing to be afraid of. You're out exercising, you're going for a run. That's not a scary situation. You can do that without it necessarily meaning there is something fearful going on, something to be afraid of, something that needs to initiate your stress response. So what we have to do first is all of that. We have to manage our stress response. We have to show our stress response that in situations, controllable situations that place us under stress, cold water, the Shakti mat, whatever, place us under stress, that actually it's okay. We are in control, because actually the reality these days is there's not as much out there that needs to initiate our fight or flight response. In fact, our fight or flight response is actually unhelpful for a lot of the stuff we need to do today, because it creates a need in us to run away or fight, or freeze, which is the other part of it that I'm sure you've heard of. And none of those things are particularly helpful these days, are they? When you've got the spreadsheet to update, or the report to write, or the visit to do, or the sales pitch to deliver, or whatever it happens to be. None of those things are particularly helpful. And actually, those things are not really something to be fearful of. They're not life-threatening. And that's what this response is there for. If we think about our evolutionary past, they're not life-threatening. So we've got this really fab response that has kept us alive for millennia that actually is getting in the way now. So we have to learn how to manage that. And even if there is something fearful and scary and life-threatening happening, remaining emotionally in control might actually be a good thing in some of those situations as well. I don't know, if you're driving and something happens in front of you, you know what I mean? If you can keep a level head and steer around it or do whatever, maybe you avoid something. You see where I'm going with that. So there's all sorts of reasons to try and control this stress response. So manage the stress response before the stress happens. But what we tend to do is we manage our time, and then when we run out of time, or we look at the time we've got and think, damn, I'm never going to get all this done. And let's remember, in the modern world, we're never going to get caught up. There's always going to be something to manage. David Allen's trusted system. Maybe we can talk about that later or another time. So manage your stress response first, because if you start by managing time, you're immediately going to become stressed by that, because you're not going to have enough. It's as simple as that, isn't it, really? Now, that's a problem. That's a problem. And, what we're trying to do here, I suppose, is manage ourselves within that problematic environment. Now, I think that's a huge problem for us as a society. We need to figure out why it is that people now work in a way where there's so much to do, they never get caught up. We could go into political ideology and all sorts of that, couldn't we? Or consumerism, capitalism, whatever. We go into all those kind of things. So we kind of know what the problem is. The problem's not going to change overnight. How do we manage? How do we manage in the meantime while we stimulate a revolution and overturn and overcome all of this way of being in this culture we live in, society we live in? So if you start by managing your time, you're immediately going to become stressed. So if you start by managing your stress, though, and then managing your energy. And actually, some of those things we've talked about, they actually manage your energy effectively as well. They stoke up energy for you. Exercise, great way to have more energy. There's a physical demand placed on you by cerebral mental work. So, so manage our stress first, manage our energy first, then manage our time. So when you're managing your time and you start to feel those feelings, that really bad stress emerging inside you, you can maybe control that feeling more and go, right, okay, no good getting all frustrated and angry and upset by all of this. I mean, sometimes we need to, but we need to do it in a controlled, organized kind of way. No point in getting kind of frustrated by this, because that's not going to help. I'm just going to get foggy brain. I'm just going to get distracted. I'm just going to procrastinate and sit and talk about how there's so much to do. I'm never going to get it done rather than actually trying to do something. So when we're in that planning stage, if we become stressed, we stop being clear of thought and clear in our thinking. So then when we get to that, so the other thing so manage your stress response first. Figure out how that biological process, chemical process, neurological process happens, and manage it with the techniques we've talked about: meditation, mindfulness, placing yourself into controllable but physically stressful situations, those kind of things. Safe but controllable. The things I've talked about earlier. And then manage your energy, and that's to do with what you eat and your sleep and and your exercise and all that kind of stuff, your rest. And then manage your time. And then when you're feeling stressed, don't badge it as stress. Don't say I'm stressed. When you're feeling, you need to use that word. Just think, what is it that I'm feeling? Am I feeling frustrated? If I am, what am I frustrated at? Do something about that. Am I feeling overwhelmed? What is it I'm feeling overwhelmed about? Do something with that. Am I feeling tired? Right, well, what does that mean? Let's have a look at that. Let's reflect on that and explore that. Am I staying up late on a night? Am I maybe having a couple of beers and feeling tired the next day? What am I having a caffeine crash? What is it that makes me feel tired? Am I feeling things are out of control? But what do I do with that? Am I feeling low in mood, depressed even? Right, okay, well, what's causing that? And what do I do with that? But as soon as we say I'm stressed, it's such a blobby, undefinable thing that we don't know what to do with it. We just feel it. If we badge it as the things that we're naming that, then we can do something with it. So work backwards. Manage your stress response first, so that you are less at the mercy of it when it's outside of your control, if you like. Manage your energy, then get around to managing your time. So there you go. That's the hierarchy of managing things. Manage stress response, manage energy, manage time. Okay, good stuff. Love to you all, and we will see you Friday. Friday looks good for a check-in. See you soon.